There is currently a backlog of some 894,000 claims for help filed by men and women who served in the military. 80% of them have languished for more than 125 days, the VA's self-imposed deadline, to clear a claim. There are endless waiting for claims to be processed, and it's caused a distinct distrust with veterans towards the very agency entrusted to help them. For every 100 soldiers, approximately 40 will have PTSD, and women are overrepresented. Suicide rates in the U.S. military increased 80% between 2004 to 2008, and right now there are more suicides being committed in the military than actual military personnel being killed in combat. The numbers are critically also underreported, given the VA's poor screening process. 23% of female soldiers report sexual assault, 55% experience sexual harassment, and then there's the issue of prescription medications, their documented side effects, and the overzealous prescribing methods of military doctors. It's a huge problem, and what I'm hoping is that Dinah will be able to call in on the other line. I'm checking in the background here, folks. Hang on with me for a second.
And actually, Karen, we do have her on the line now. I think Brett's waiting to queue her up right now.
That's awesome, Gary. Thank you very much. And Gary, I want to thank you as well for your help during the mini-thon here this last Saturday. I know we had some OSMs, but I do appreciate more than I can even tell you how much your support and your participation means. And we had a couple of OSMs, but they didn't stop the show, and we've had some other problems, but, check back to the UnitedWeStrike.com website. We should be able to be broadcasting the archives soon. And now let's see if we've got Dinah Everett-Snyder. Are you there, Dinah?
Hi, Karen. Yes, I am.
Oh, good. You gave me a heart attack there. We called both your numbers. Nobody was answering, and I wanted to make sure you're okay.
Vicky called, and the call went through. I've been having terrible tech problems since yesterday. It's been an ongoing issue. I'm really sorry. I've been sitting by the phone waiting for you.
Well, I'm glad that we got you. Now, I had started to read what you sent me with the military, with their suicides, with the fact that they're not able to be seen, the post-traumatic stress disorder. So I do want to get into that, but before we go there, what is your background, Dinah? How did you get involved in all of this?
Well, believe it or not, it actually started with a degree in interior design. Long time ago, the dawn of time, it feels like. When I was very young, I decided to get a degree in interior design. And, of course, that led me to working with smaller co-ops in South Africa, and very quickly I discovered that there were very specific issues there. And so I went ahead and got a degree in global economics and the impact of sanctions on minorities, because I had this fabulous idea when I was really young and stupid that I was going to march into some UN office and change the world. That didn't quite happen, and but from that, I started working, of course, with a lot more issues within minorities, and poverty, of course, is an overriding one. I'm originally from South Africa, so that's where my experience really started. And that led me to a degree in herbal medicine. And from herbal medicine, I fell headlong into the crisis of autism that we really have in this country. I've lived in America my entire adult life, and it's been I had children when I was young, and then I had children when I was older and somewhat wiser. And I've always been in the school system. I've always volunteered. I've been a very active parent, and I've just seen how this autism thing has just kind of blown up on everyone. And I had my own experience with autism. I have an 11-year-old who was clinically diagnosed as autistic, and I took one look at what the medical profession, thought was good medicine for him, and I said, thank you, but no thank you. I will figure this out on my own. And we did. he, of course, is no longer autistic, and now he's in a class for gifted children, which, of course, is curious. We have to have our labels. We love labeling everything. Everything has to have a label. And, of course, the military has a very, very high incidence of autism. So before long, the children that I was seeing were military children of parents in the military. And that's really my background in a nutshell.
And so it's amazing anyway that your son is cured from autism and now gifted. I think that there are a lot of people listening out there who would love to know how you did that. But I'm sure that we can have you back for another talk in that. However, when you were treating these autistic children and having a success, then how did this lead you to the military? Because their parents were happy with their children, and then they started reflecting on their partners, wishing they could have help?
Yes. Something that we don't really talk about much with the military is, we don't seem to talk nearly enough about the military. But within that context...
Dinah, I hate to interrupt you here, but we do have a break for a sponsor. Folks, we will be right back with Dinah Everett-Snyder. This is going to be on the military. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Charlie McGrath's Wide Awake News. Sorry, another page there on my computer. We're with Dinah Everett-Snyder, and we're talking about the fact that she was working with autistic children. She was successful at curing her own autistic child, who is now a gifted child, and that she had been treating autistic children who had military parents, which led to some of the parents asking about the possible treatment of their spouses because they were so happy with the way their children came out. Dinah, I know you were going to open it up about the military here, so now I'm turning it back over to you. And what would you like to fill us in on that?
Well, as I was saying before the commercial break, we don't really know very much about military families. They're very insular, and there's not a lot of media discussion about them. But something that is important to acknowledge with military families is that the active family member is away for long periods of time. Minimum deployment is 9 months. They can be away for 2 years, even more if the situation is warranted and they have a particular skill that's needed somewhere. And while they're away, it's a one-parent household. The average military family is 3 children, and they have a much higher than the national average of autistic children in military families, in military households. So one way and another, and I had a whole lot of autistic children on my books whose parents or a parent was in the military. A lot of them lived on military bases. And I was working with moms, particularly with their autistic children, a real focus on nutrition and on the underlying symptoms of autism. You know, we tend to medicate the overt symptoms of autism and not really address any of the other issues. So I come in and I address a lot of the other issues, and parents start to see a profound change. Now, when you're with these kids every day, you might not see the incremental changes, but for a dad or a parent who's been away for 9 months, 2 years, they come back, they can't believe the change. And they want to know more, you know, how is this possible? What did you do? What's happening? Now that we have a situation where so many of our soldiers are coming home, they're coming home with a lot of symptoms, PTSD, flashbacks, health issues. And the parents that are at home, well, initially it was more of a discussion. And then a parent that I'd been dealing with for quite a long time was devastated one day. Her brother, who was also in the military, her husband was in the military, she's ex-military. Brother was in the military. He came home, he'd been a veteran for 1.5 years, and he committed suicide, and she was absolutely devastated. And one of the reasons why she was so devastated is because she felt that it was a completely preventable death. And the suicide note that he left included a reference to the fact that, yes, he was depressed. Yes, he felt the situation was hopeless. But the bigger thing was he, while he was overseas, he had a dog. And when he came home, he had to leave the dog behind. The dog continued its career, and he came home. And, of course, I don't know how much you read in the media, but there have been some issues recently with veterans trying to bring their dogs, their service dogs, back to the States with them. And there was a pilot program, and it was shut down. And it was shut down for lame and stupid reasons. This particular woman was very angry, and she, of course, was devastated. She has 2 autistic children that I've been working with for about 3 years. And her husband came home, and she said, you know, there is no way I want my husband going on all these pharmaceuticals, because we had weaned her children off all of their medication. They were also on allergy medication, which had not crossed her mind. It was not really part of our focus. Oh, let's get them off their inhalers. We were more concerned with their gut issues and other issues. But as a result of addressing all these other health concerns, we discovered that they no longer needed their inhalers. Fast forward, her husband came home. She asked me to help him and address nutrition and some of these things. This particular man was very hooked on energy drinks. A lot of the people in the military are very addicted. I say that loosely. They're very addicted to sodas and to these metabolic energy drinks. They're freely available on bases. And it's a quick pick-me-up when you haven't slept for 16 hours. I guess it's appealing. And not long after we had got him to drop all of these things and make some changes in his diet, she noticed some very profound changes in him, and of course he did too, which allowed him to be a lot more open to taking what he called wussy medicine, you know, supplements, vitamins, things like that.
Hang on, Dinah. We've got another break coming up here right now. We'll be back after this, folks, with Dinah Everett-Snyder. Can it be knocking at my door? It's me, Karen. I'm filling in for Charlie McGrath. Hopefully everything's fine with Charlie's son. Charlie's feeling good, but he had to take his son to the doctor. And I'm pitch hitting for him tonight. We've got Dinah Everett-Snyder from DinahEverett-Snyder.org. The links are live in the calendar on the left-hand side if you want to find out more. All right, Dinah, we are back with you again, and I guess if I am having a bit of feedback, I'm not sure what to do about it. I'm plugged in here, and I'll mute myself when I'm not talking. All right, Dinah, we're back.
All right. Hi, Karen. I think we can just sum it up by saying word of mouth travels quickly. You have a close community of military veterans and military families, and before you know it, I was being inundated with particularly wives and girlfriends, and even some grandparents who were wanting to know what they could do for their returning soldiers that would help with their symptoms of PTSD and the related health fallout from PTSD. You know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. These people are real-life human beings with integrated body systems that have been pummeled for 9 months to 2.5 years. Some of them are doing second, third, and fourth tours of duty, and the whole thing takes a toll on the body. And so we decided that we had to do something. I mean, it's really that simple. So we did. I went ahead and did some research and created a study based on a therapy model of the stages of grief. I think we are pretty familiar with the 5 stages of grief, but there's an expanded 7 stages of grief. And I created the study, and I took it around to a couple of therapists that I know and some other types of psych people. and we honed the study, and then I decided I was going to go out and look for volunteers. And that was the interesting thing, because, we actually had more than 400 applicants, 400 veterans who applied who answered the call, if you were, to the study. And from that 403, we whittled it down to 30. And the whole key behind the study was that everybody had to be completely drug-free. And all 30 of these veterans said, yes, we are drug-free. We don't do drugs. No recreational drugs. We don't take all sorts of medications. We're not on anything for our PTSD. And that's something that I didn't particularly address in the study. We talk, and the study talks more about the particular drugs used for PTSD. But as I said, these are real-life human beings with real bodies. And we had mentioned we didn't want them on any PTSD drugs, anything to address those symptoms. But what we found was that even the 30 that said, yes, absolutely, we're not on any kind of medications for PTSD or anything else, neglected to mention that they were on other prescription medications. They were on statins. They were on other painkillers for, sore ankles or sore backs and all these other things. So we decided we actually had to do a full blood panel, P-test blood work to take those 30 and make sure that they were completely and utterly pharmaceutical drug-free for the purposes of the study. And of those 30, only 6 came back completely in the clear. And right there, you can see what we have as a perception of what we put in our mouths, where you have 403 people who say, yes, I want to take part in this study. Yes, I have these symptoms. Help me. And then you have 30 people that step forward and say, we have not taken anything, but define anything. Because when we finally do all the testing, only 6 of them actually don't have anything in their blood or their pee. So that was quite mind-boggling right there, because we had anticipated having 30 people in the study, and we ended up with 6.
Now, do you have a medical background? That was a question earlier. If you got any kind of license, are you a doctor, are you a researcher? What is your medical background?
I'm not licensed to practice medicine. I can't write prescriptions. But I can certainly take consultations on herbal medicine and supplements and food choices. As I said, I have a degree in herbal medicine. I did a course in diet, the requisite for the course, and it's quite comprehensive. Unlike the course, when you are going to become a doctor, you have a 2-day now. They have a 2-day class on nutrition to become a medical doctor and write prescriptions for people's ailments, which is quite diabolical based on everything that we have been able to accomplish with good food and added supplements and vitamins, good nutrition, essentially, you can say. Well, that's what it boils down to.
No, well, that's important, and it's not that I think that doctors are studying the right thing either. I think that that's just a whole other pharmaganda, all of it. I mean, doctors don't learn enough about nutrition, and now we're facing problems too with Codex Alimentarius. I read an article today where they are not wanting anyone to be able to say that food actually can cure disease, or the nutrients from food can cure disease. So I know that they avoid that. So basically, then you've got 403 people who think that they are okay, and out of them, 30 of them who don't think they're taking any drugs at all, not even knowing about all the drugs that are all around us and all the drugs that are medications that they're taking. So you end up with only 6 people out of 403 who actually are clean.
Right. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And these were people that were sat down. I mean, we didn't sit all 403 down, but we sent out a questionnaire to the 403. And of the 403, of course, 30 qualified through the questionnaire. And we got those 30 into a room, and we sat them down, and we discussed our needs and their needs, which we already knew because of the questionnaire. And we told them what we needed, what the study parameters were. And we went through extensively a 2-hour discussion on nutrition and the different systems of the body and why it was important to wean yourself off of the chemicals in our diet and everything else. And at the end of that, we asked if there was anyone there who felt that they should be, based upon what they now knew about what the study parameters were and the needs and the constraints, were there any other people out of the group of 30 who felt that they would have to be excluded based on the discussion? And 30 heads said, absolutely not, we're qualified. And then only 6 were. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
So it was just maybe over-the-counter medications, maybe aspirins and things like that, as well as the statin drugs that these people were taking that they didn't even recognize were really drugs. They were just thinking, this is something that I do. This is more like food than it is a drug.
You know, it's interesting, but you also have to understand that we have a very permissive society when it comes to prescriptions and pharmaceuticals. If you look at the FDA statistics, that by the time someone is 66 years old, they're on 7 prescription medications. 7. 66 is not that old. 66 is the new 45. And you're on 6. The average person, the average American, is on 6 prescription medications. So this is the prevailing attitude that we're working with. I also want to point out that people that take metabolic drinks and energy drinks with lots of caffeine and lots of other things in them, all sorts of what we call inactive ingredients. When you drink 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of those a day, and you have blood work and T-tests done, it will interfere with your results. You will come back with a
so you'll fail with those energy drinks. All right, pay attention to that, folks. What you're drinking really does count. We'll be back with the last segment with Dinah Everett-Snyder right after this, and she'll be back on the 20th with Charlie. All right, so we've got a lot of different forms of medications in some of these hyped up drinks. There's a lot going on that we're not really paying attention to, and the veterans really are having a huge problem. So Dinah, now you have isolated the fact that you've got 6 members and you want to totally change them and put them through. Well, tell us about the test that you came up with, and then when you're on with Charlie, you can get into really more about how the test went. But lay out a little bit more about how you set this whole thing up.
Okay. Well, so there were 30 people. We whittled it down to 6. Of those, 4 were married, 1 was separated, and 1 was divorced. Those 6 people, between them, have 16 children. I think that they would like to be symptom-free and cognizant and awake and not medicated so that they can, 1, and they all stated this, catch up on lost time with their children. They've been away 9 months, 2 years, a 6-month break, and then they're gone again for 2 years. They're coming home. They want to integrate back into their families and into society. 16 children. This is a very important number to hold in your head. So what we did, once we had whittled it down to 6, they got 2 pieces of paper. On the one was what we call paper A. That was the no-no list. On the no-no list is no medication for the duration of the study. We were going to supply all the supplements, everything that they needed. So let's focus on the no-no list. No medication. Number 2 was no sports drinks, energy drinks, or sodas. No diet sodas. Aspartame is a terrible, terrible product. sports drinks, of course, eliminated the other 24 people out of the study, along with their drugs we talked about earlier. But primarily it was all the metabolic and energy drinks that they were drinking. No fast food whatsoever. Terrible thing, fast food. Easy and convenient, but it's going to kill you. No candy. They become sugar junkies. Sugar is something that gives you a quick high. So this is part of the addiction to sodas. It's part of the addiction to energy drinks. The caffeine is too, but they're loaded with sugar, loaded with aspartame. No alcohol. Military veterans suffer terribly from alcohol addiction, far greater than the civilian population. There's a very permissive air regarding alcohol in the military. So they had to be able to commit to absolutely no alcohol for the duration of the study, which is 6 weeks. All their time had to be accounted for in a personal diary, no lost time. What happens when they come home is the family life swirls on around them as it has while they were gone, and they are a little unsure. And so when wife says, all right, I'm leaving, I'm going to drop this kid here, and I have to drop that kid there, and I'm going to do this and this and this, and then the household is quiet. So husbands go out. Where do they go? They go to the bar. They go to a friend, and they go drink at a friend's house. So we didn't specify, that they weren't allowed to go to friends or anything, but we wanted to see an accountability for every minute of their day. For some of them, wives were accusing them or concerned. I say accusing, but it's fraught with worry. Where is he? He didn't leave a note to say where he'd gone when he was coming back. So we gave them small little notepads, and we wanted them to be accountable for all their time. So that was the no-no list. And then there was the other list. On that list, they were given a list of supplements, vitamins, and amino acids, along with a dosing schedule. We gave them a box, and in it was the whole list of supplements. We had looked at the total symptoms. There were 2 out of the 6 that had very specific issues with erectile dysfunction. So we addressed those. In the study, there's an asterisk next to those, and so not everyone got those, just these 2 particular men. But in total, there was 34 supplements. All 6 of the men were on 32 supplements, and then 2 of them were on the additional 2 supplements. And it's nothing frightening. There's nothing on there that you can't get at a good vitamin store. They're all sayable and spellable, and we know about them. If you go to PubMed online, there's a database. You can research all these supplements, and you can look at all the studies. And a lot of those studies has been done with our tax dollars. They've been done by agencies affiliated with the FDA and with the Department of Health and Human Services. They know what these things do. And that begs a lot of questions. If we know, and if they know, what the potential is for all of these different supplements, why are we being denied access to them? And why are companies, supplement companies and food companies, deny the ability to put the health claims on the label when the health claims have been verified through rigorous study? Not 1, not 2, not 5 studies, multiple studies. However, that's a rant for a different time. So we basically divided the supplements up into segments, and we addressed sleep issues with a group of supplements. We addressed metabolic issues. We addressed brain food with the omegas. We addressed heart palpitations, brain fog, anxiety, insomnia, all of these things for which they are very vicious pharmaceuticals. We address them with supplements. And when I say vicious pharmaceuticals, they are vicious because they are all highly addictive, number one. Number two, of course, they're synthesized chemical compounds. They're not things that are bioavailable to the body. They're not easily assimilated in the body. They're an onslaught on the body, and they provide a Band-Aid. They don't address the underlying synaptic issues, and they don't talk to the body as a whole. They address things hyper-selectively in a highly addictive fashion, which causes extreme fallout for the body. If you're on any of these high-tech pharmaceutical opioids and other things, and you are suddenly without your medication, these drugs are strong enough and addictive enough that they can cause cardiac arrest if you suddenly go off of them. Now, you can take all the supplements and things that you like. I mean, you can take 40 different supplements a day. And if you suddenly don't take them for a day or two or a week or a month, your heart's not going to stop. And some of these things may not, per se, make you feel incredibly so much better automatically. They're not going to hurt you because they're natural. We are meant to ingest them. They're meant to be in our food, but they're not. And, of course, there's myriad reasons why they're not. And we and our current health issues are the fallout and the deficit of that. So it's really criminal that all of this is occurring to begin with. But here we have 6 men, and we decided we're going to feed them not overkill amounts of supplements, but over the course of the 6 weeks, we're going to really aggressively address nutrition for the brain, for the adrenals, for the gut, for inflammation, and we're going to see what happens. And
now, Dinah, we're just about at the end of the program here. Is there a link online where if people want to read this email that you sent out to Charlie and me, where they can read this before the 20th so that they'll have a better idea of what we're going into? Because, folks, the study is really fascinating, and there are cures out there. You know, we're not just at their whim and beck and call. We can do things to save ourselves. So do you have a link, Dinah?
Well, the study is not up on my site yet due to my own tech issues today and yesterday. But over the course of the next few days, I will get the study up onto my site, which is DinahEverett-Snyder.org.
All right, and is it all right with you if people email me and they'd like to see it, if I forward that on?
Yes.
All right, then, folks, if you are interested, if you have somebody who is in the military, if you are someone who is in the military and you would like to see a little more in depth of what Dinah is talking about, if you email me, I will forward you a copy. My email is my name, Karen, Karen, S as in Sheila, Q as in Quinn, T as in Tostado, Karen, sqt@gmail.com. And it's DinahEverett-Snyder.org. The links are live in the calendar. And she will be back on the 20th with Charlie McGrath to really get into this, and you'll find out more if you want to read that report. So, Dinah, I want to thank you very much for being here tonight. I know you have had all kinds of very strange problems with your telephone. Do you have any final thoughts?
I can't wait to sit down with Charlie on the 20th and actually delve into the study, because subsequently the graduates of the study are chomping at the bit. They want to replicate the study in small groups themselves, because they feel that strongly that it was an unmitigated success for them.
Wow. So they want to turn around and give it to their friends and take them through the people who went through it with you?
Yes.
That is quite, that's huge. That's wonderful. You helped them so much that now they're going to turn around and help others. We know that our military is being abused and lied to pretty much above all. If you're wearing a uniform and being paid by the bankers You really need to do some homework. Again, if you want to get that copy, email me, KarenSQT@gmail.com. Thank you, Dinah Everett-Snyder at DinahEverettsnyder.org. And we'll be back on the 20th to fill in more of these blanks and really get into this study. So thank you very much for joining us, folks. Stay tuned for Jeff Rentz tonight, and I'll be back on Friday.